Hey y'all, welcome to Tierra Sur. Rosh Chodesh Club Passover edition, right? So today we're gonna be doing a hanger steak. We're gonna be making a spicy kind of date glaze for our hanger steak. We're gonna be doing a apple remoulade. Super tasty. Gonna bring in some nice richness and some acidity. We're also gonna be making a potato pave, which I'm excited to share with you today. Yeah, let's just get right into it, right? So first things first. We're gonna start with our turnips. Our turnips we're gonna be adding to our remoulade, right? Just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of bitterness. These are some baby turnips or Japanese turnips. We're just gonna cut them in half. Cut the little ends off here. Cut them and throw them into a steam basket and just allow them to get soft. We do want to leave some texture, all right, because we don't want them to be mush in our sauce. Throw these in our steam basket, maybe 10-ish minutes in there. And then we want to make sure that when we pull them, we let them rest and cool down, because we are going to be making kind of like a creamy mayo-based sauce. So we don't want to put hot stuff in mayo. That's kind of weird. Next is going to be our potato pave. Now, you don't have to do this. You can make mashed potatoes. You can make roasted potatoes. This is just kind of that extra step. It takes not very much skill, but it does take time, right? So we are going to basically peel these, slice these on a mandolin, layer them, bake them in the oven, and then we're gonna press them and let them sit for at least 5 hours in the refrigerator. So they kind of set up, and then we're gonna cut it, and we're gonna fry it. It's gonna be awesome. Adds really nice texture to your dish. So I have a Japanese mandolin here. This is what I would suggest you use. That way you're able to get even cuts and get very thin cuts. The more layers, the thinner you get your potato, the more texture that you're gonna be able to achieve at the end. All right, so now we're gonna slice these. We're gonna slice these directly into water. So this is kind of the thinness that we're going for. I'd say it's maybe 2-3 millimeters thick. If you are using a mandolin, please be careful. I like all the guys in the kitchen, we all call this the most dangerous tool that we use, because you wouldn't believe how many fingertips this thing has taken. And once you get to the end, don't just get rid of it, right? It's not worth your fingers. Now we're going directly into water for 2 reasons. One, the one that everybody knows, right? We don't want our potatoes to brown. But 2, the water that helps to kind of equalize the starch ratio in the potato to exactly kind of what we need. So now we're going to take our pan, dry it out. We're going to use some Vaseline spray or just any kind of oil. I'm going to spray the edges. And then we're going to set ourselves up for success, right? So we're going to take some parchment paper. And this is highly suggest this step. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle getting your potato pave out of the pan, right? So we're going to cut a little strip. And we're going to lay this along the bottom like so. Trying to leave our edges up so we have something to grab onto, right? And lift this potato once it's all finished. So a little more spray And then we're going to make another piece. And we're gonna stick this just like that. Okay, we set that up. Let's give our turnips a check. Yep, these are finished. We're just going to let these cool down, come to room temp. Really, this dish, 3 ingredients: potatoes, olive oil, and salt. Right, so I'm gonna put a little extra virgin olive oil on the bottom. You can use any oil that you'd like. I like the extra virgin olive oil. At the end, I think that it adds a really nice fruity quality. All right, so I've done about 3 layers. Next, I'm gonna add some more olive oil. Then we're gonna season with some salt. Don't go too crazy with your salt, right? Because we're gonna do every 2 or 3 layers, we're gonna add a layer of oil and a layer of salt. So we don't wanna go nuts with the salt because, you know, it'll make everything way too salty in the end. Every so often, press down, you'll be able to feel kind of where you might have some ridges, and then you can add more potato in other areas to even that out. Usually it ends up happening on the sides, so I'm gonna add just a couple here before I do another pass. All right, we're just gonna do like 1 or 2 more layers. We don't need this to be super large. Use this opportunity at the end to kind of check any gaps that you might have. Again, usually happening towards the ends here in the corners. We're just gonna fill those, and then we'll do our final layer on top. Last layer, generous amount of olive oil. It's going to seep through as it's cooking. Good amount of kosher salts, right? Then we're gonna take our parchment paper, we're gonna fold it over like so, and then we'll grab another pan that is the same size. We'll place this on top. And then we're just gonna get anything that's gonna add weight. So, and that's oven safe, right? So for me, I'm gonna grab some of our ramekins that we have here. So that's going to press this down as it's cooking. We're gonna put it into a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. Now this depends on how big your pan is and how thick you make your potato pub and all that good stuff. But for this, I think 45 minutes is going to work out for us. Once it is finished, or to be able to check it, we're just going to insert a toothpick and just make sure that it goes in and out cleanly, and then you know that it's done. You're gonna put that weight back on, and then again, you're gonna let that sit for around 5-6 hours until it completely cools down and sets. So once it's set and you've removed it, it's gonna look a little something like this, right? So we have basically here our potato pod. You can see the extra virgin olive oil that kind of cooked with it, and it's become this brick. I know you can't notice it now, but once we cook it, you'll be able to see all those wonderful layers that we worked so hard to make. We're gonna put these back in the fridge, keep everything as cold as possible. If it starts to get hot, warm up. That lamination is going to start to separate. And if you decide to deep fry it like we're going to do, it could just blow apart in the fryer, and then all your hard work, it turns into chips, right? Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but not really what we're going for. If you don't have a deep fryer, you can certainly pan sear this. It just might take a little bit longer, and you're going to have to really work on that heat control, right? You can either deep fry it or shallow fry it in a pan. Next, right? Let's work on our glaze. I think that's a good place to go, right? So into a blender, we are going to add, I'm gonna add 3 cloves of garlic, some dates. Make sure to remove the pits The dates that we are using are medjool dates. I really like medjool dates as a varietal. They have like a butterscotch-like flavor, and they're absolutely delicious. We're gonna add quite a bit of dates to this. My end goal is kind of a sweet heat. So I want this to be spicy, but I also want it to be balanced with sweetness coming from our dates. All right, so we got our dates in, we got our garlic in. We're going to add, right now, I'm gonna say about a tablespoon of oil. We are probably going to have to add more. This is red wine vinegar. I'm gonna start off with around a tablespoon. And now we're gonna go with our spices, right? So to this, I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Then I'm gonna add a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder. All right, and then this next step is totally up to you. Depends on how spicy you want it, right? I want this spicy. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of smoked paprika. You can use regular paprika. I like the smoked because I want that flavor to come through again. And then I'm going to add a generous teaspoon of coriander. You know what, I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of coriander because this isn't ground, right? So when we grind it, it'll get smaller. I am doing this in a high-speed blender, so I'm not worried about some of my whole spices like my cumin and my coriander because they're going to grind as we blend, right? Our goal is, again, kind of that glaze consistency. So a little bit further than a paste, right? I want this to stick to the meat. We're gonna season with salt. Again, this is to taste, right? Pepper, right? So let's talk about pepper. We've made kind of a fun change in the restaurant. We used to use just black pepper. Now we're doing a peppercorn mix, right? So by weight, we do 50% black pepper, and then we add 25% green peppercorns and 25% pink peppercorns. And the pink peppercorns just add this really wonderful, almost citrusy, fruity aroma that's just incredible. And so we're doing that on all of our proteins now. It's really exciting. So I added the pepper. And then I'm going to add another tablespoon of red wine vinegar. Just kind of balance things out. I think it needs a little more acidity. All right, so next, let's get this out of the way. We're gonna talk about our meat. We're gonna use hanger steaks. I love hanger steaks. It's one of my favorite cuts. 2 things you should know about hanger steaks. So 1, kosher hanger steaks. Very salty. Very, very, very salty. So when it gets koshered, right, salt meat, all the blood gets drawn out, all that good stuff. But the hanger steak, as a piece of meat, this is how big it is. So when you put all that salt on something this small, it penetrates all the way through the meat. Whereas something like a big rib roast, right, that salt doesn't penetrate all the way through because it's a large piece of meat, right? So this becomes very salty. So what do? We basically soak it in water, right? And that's gonna draw out, 1, more blood, but 2, that salinity. We soak it for 2 days and we change the water once. So we'll soak it for a day, dump out the water, put fresh water, and then soak it another 24 hours. And that kind of equalizes, it draws all that salt out, right? 2, the other thing, some people don't like hanger steak because it can have a very strong flavor. I don't know if anyone has ever had beef heart or anything like that, but it does eat more like that, has more of that kind of, gamey is a strong word, but that more very intense beefy flavor. So when you're soaking it, it draws out some of that flavor as well. So to do this is how your hanger steaks are going to come to you. Usually, unless you have your butcher do this part, you can see there is a very large piece of unedible sinew that runs through. So for us, we cut that out. For you, you can leave it in, or you can leave it in, whatever. You just have to cut around it when you are, when you're eating it after it's done. To be honest, this looks prettier to me on a plate as a whole piece, but it doesn't really do much for guest experience, right? So we're gonna cut that out. It's very simple, just follow along. And if only these went straight up and down, but they don't. They kind of go to the side. So we're gonna cut out all this sinew. This you can dry, great dog treat, I'm telling you, it's the best. I have a husky at home and she loves those things. So we're gonna butcher them like that. These, well, we'll kind of show you the difference. You can see the difference in color, right? So this one's much darker, it's a little bit lighter. That's because we've soaked it. All right, so more of that blood has been drawn out. One hanger steak is kind of 2 lobes, right? So for a portion, we are going to do 2 pieces. If you're plating this up, there's lots of ways to do this, but that's kind of how we're gonna do it, right? So we have this very flavorful paste. We are gonna add that, but it's got those dates in it. It's got lots of natural sugar in it. So we don't wanna start the cooking process with that on, right? So we're just gonna season this lightly with salt and pepper. Perfect, and then over here I have a grill pan already prepared. We're going to spray this down. And add our hanger steaks. For this, I just got this guy ripping hot, turn it down to a medium low flame. It's cast iron, it retains that heat, right? So it's still staying nice and hot. And we're gonna leave that alone for now. And what is grilling without a little wine, right? So for this, I think the new Napa 2023, this is a brand new vintage, just got released. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. Some nice fruit notes come through, tannins there. It's gonna be great with, it's meat and potatoes, right? What's better with meat and potatoes than cab? Our turnips have cooled down to room temp, so we're gonna put these into a bowl. Here we've got a lemon. We're just gonna make really simple acidulated water, right? We don't want our apple to go brown on us. We give our steaks a nice little flip. Rare to medium rare, they're very lean. You overcook them, they get real dry. Then we're gonna take some of our paste. We're gonna let these sear on the other side, and then we're just going to give them a little kiss on the other side so that starts to caramelize. We'll be good. Cool. All right. Apples, right? So for these, we're gonna peel our apple. And you can cut these however you'd like. I'm gonna go for a nice, even small dice. I want it to be large enough where there's that kind of bite of apple. Adding layers of texture. Once we get these cut, we're gonna go straight into our lemon water. That's gonna keep these from going brown on us. All right, so let's finish these off really fast. Again, we're gonna flip these. We're gonna give them a little kiss on one side. We're gonna paint the other side, and then we're gonna let these rest. All right, these are just gonna come off and rest. We're gonna let these rest for 5-ish minutes, 5-10 minutes. We have our turnips here. We have our apples. We have some horseradish. We have just a basic plain aioli here. We've made it a bit thicker, more of a mayo than an aioli, right? We've made it thicker because we're adding that horseradish, and then we're gonna add this apple, and a little bit of that acidulated water is gonna get in there. It's gonna thin things out, so it's gonna work out well for us. So like I said, you see how that water kind of got in there? Now it started to thin things out. Everything is coated. Again, this is a plain aioli. You can just use store-bought mayo if you'd like. It already has enough salt. Our meat is already seasoned properly. I don't think that we're gonna need to add any salt to that. I'm just gonna add some nice fresh tarragon. It's gonna add a nice anise, licoricey, fresh note to this. I'm not even gonna chop these. I'm just going to leave them as whole leaves. Fold these through. So we got our potatoes here. So our oil is set to 350 degrees. We're just gonna place these really nicely in our fry basket. Drop them in, and we are going to cook them until they are nice and golden brown and crispy on the outside, and they should be really nice and creamy in the center. We're just gonna go with our standard, kind of our white stackable plate, nice and clean. We're gonna take some of our glaze paste right down the center here. Give those a little shake, make sure they don't stick together, right? All right, so our potatoes are done at this point. All right, the big reveal. So you can see kind of all those nice layers that we worked so hard to make. Right out of the fryer. We're gonna make sure that we season generously with some salt. Season both sides. Nice and crispy, right? So our steaks have been resting. And we're just gonna add our nice creamy sauce on top. Make sure to get both the apples and the turnips in there. Garnish with some more fresh tarragon. All right, let's dig in, right? We're gonna do the Napa 23 again. I don't even know where I should. Oh, it's perfect. Sweet, spicy, freshness from the apple and the tarragon. That tarragon comes from the end, so yummy. Let's show off these layers. I really hope you make this at home. It really is delicious. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. The tannins and the fruit in the wine don't compete at all with any of these flavors. I think it works out really, really well. I really hope you make this at home, and we'll see you again soon, and see you in the next one. Happy Passover.